Just about 2 years ago, I gave my first State of the City address, and I talked about building Tech Lake City. I think a lot of our team was both excited and confused. What does that mean? We're in Salt Lake City, and the Silicon Slopes are several miles south of us, concentrated far outside of our city limits. But I know that we have Research One University. We have incredible, brilliant minds already at work in healthcare innovation, digital technology, building businesses, scaling businesses right here in the city. But the obviousness of that and the presence of it has not been nearly visible enough. And it's not just an economic development conversation. Fast forward, this year we unveiled our blueprint for healthcare innovation in Salt Lake City. It's really the Tech Lake City guidebook. It's how we collectively, beyond Salt Lake City government, from the private sector, the great minds that have yet to build businesses, University of Utah and others, BioHive at the helm, are going to set out together to amplify this ecosystem that already exists here today in order to support the growth that's happening, create fertile ground for new minds to come and take root here, grow their businesses, but most of all, and this is why the city is so involved, create economic opportunity for our residents in Salt Lake City. I mean that broadly, but also we're very specific about it. We know that the west side of Salt Lake City and many parts of our downtown core have been really disconnected from economic opportunity. Not only economic opportunity, but transit connections, fresh food access. Graduation rates can be predicted by your zip code in this city. This dates back many decades to redlining that was made illegal in the 60s, but whose impact persists in our community. And I think that it's our city's job, it's our community's job, it's my job to figure out how, with the growth we're experiencing here in Utah, the strongest economy in the nation, the fastest growing population, we can seize this moment of growth by strategically working together to make new inroads. Literally and figuratively, we are breaking down walls of access, barriers that have prevented that access in the past. Whether it's a K through 12 student who never even knew what STEM was, let alone thought of themselves as one of our future developers of healthcare innovation, or it's one of their parents, one of our residents in the city who's out there working today in another industry, but we want to find the opportunities to have retraining and new job connection opportunities to support what is the strongest and the fastest growing industry in the state of Utah. It's economically resilient, and the mobility opportunities are unsurpassed. I came into politics not because I had a Tech Lake City vision in mind. I came into politics really because I wanted to be at the intersection of decision, where policies are made, decisions are made that end up impacting our public's lives for a broader policy goal. My dad, as a kid, grew up listening for the planes to come fly over his family's fields in rural Illinois and drop DDT. They listened for it because they didn't know at the time the harmful impacts of it, and it would fall like snow on the kids while they ran under these planes. This is a part of his upbringing, and it was a part of the probability that he would die of cancer at a young age when I was just 13 years old. Now, I've extrapolated these connections from research and subsequent research by scientists in Illinois who grew up even in my dad's same county and have looked at this preponderance of increased cases of fatal cancers for men and women in his generation from these overexposure incidents of DDT. I never knew that when my dad was dying. We didn't talk about DDT. We just knew he was sick and it was too soon. But as I learned about this later in life, I wondered who made these decisions about using this kind of a chemical to advance the United States' ability to produce food here stateside when we were faced with global challenges and a growing population. I get that need. But I wondered what they knew about the harmful impacts of this chemical on the population that was growing the food that we needed so badly. And I wanted to be in those kind of conversations. Fast forward, many years, I had a child. He was born during an inversion here, my first of what would be my 3 lovely kids. And when he was born, I was listening to an NPR story locally a couple days later, holding him and hearing how the legislature had just received a report that said a cumulative impact of a life lived in this valley could be shortened by 2 years from that collective exposure of pollution throughout the years. And as a new mother, I felt like I had to leave. How could I do that to my beautiful new child? But I love this place. Salt Lake City is unlike anywhere else in the country. And unless you've been here and experienced this, you probably have some assumptions about what we are, who we are, that are incorrect. This place is incredible. So I decided to stay. I decided to get to work. I had no experience in air quality or air quality science, but I started by volunteering, ended up becoming a community organizer around this, co-founding a nonprofit called Breathe Utah, and finding my way into loving working in the policy realm, which I probably could have predicted if I'd been wise enough back when I figured out this possible connection with my own family and my father's too early passing. So my roots in wanting to affect the change, the healthcare, the economy, and the policy decisions are really personal. I think just as anybody who's passionate about something, we go back in their mind and figure out what their first triggers were that nudged them into this field. But today, my passion is really motivated by the kids that I get to visit in our Salt Lake City School District when I go and read some books to them once a month in different schools, different grade levels. And I look in the eyes of these beautiful people, these young people who are our future. And I encourage them to have my job, to see themselves as the president of the university, to see themselves up here, but also out in their community, making these breakthrough discoveries like we're seeing with our great companies like Recursion and Denali, who are not only helping build a stronger Salt Lake City and job connections for our people, but are really changing the well-being of the world over. It is no negative growth opportunity for us, that everyone can benefit from this. It's so inspiring for me to look in the eyes of these young kids and think that what we're doing with BioHive, what we're doing to grow Tech Lake City, is not only going to make their health prospects better, but really can set a pathway for them to thrive and to build the future of this great city. So I'm honored to be a part of it, and I invite you to think about your own connections that bring you to listen to this today, to be a part of this growing movement with BioHive and our Tech Lake City initiatives, and bring that passion in your story to what we're doing here, because we're moving mountains.